Well, hi there, everybody. I hoped to do this live every Sunday, but that wasn't possible yesterday. So I'm going to do a super quick one today. And I want to talk to you about one of the many invisible saboteurs that undermine every team. Now, it doesn't matter whether it's a basketball team, a sporting team, a corporate team, a business team, even a family team. There are four. That is boxes and labels. We've all been put in them. The inner critic, which we're going to talk about today, what I call playing the compare and despair game, and the imposter syndrome. And they're all best friends. They all hang out in this place up here, in between our ears and probably our heart as well. So I want to just ask you a question. What does your inner critic say to you on a habitual kind of pattern when you stuff up, if you are a basketball coach or a basketball player or a sports coach or athlete or business person for that matter? What do you say to yourself repeatedly, I should say? I know for me, before I knew better, I used to say, "You silly idiot," with that level of intensity. Now, what if you could change that? What if you could change that nasty voice and turn it into your own personal cheer squad? Because believe me, I know how debilitating that voice can be. You see, about 35 years ago, my inner critic was having a field day, chastising me and telling me I was so pathetic, couldn't even organize my own suicide properly. Thankfully, I'm here to tell this story. And you know what? When I chose life, I realized everyone else had an inner critic. We didn't talk about mental health and inner critics back then. And more importantly, I started studying NLP. I worked with Tony Robbins, and I realized that I could reprogram that sucker and turn it into a cheer squad. Imagine what you'll be able to achieve when that nasty voice has been replaced by your own personal cheer squad. Now, it hasn't been there all along, okay? It really hasn't. At this age, we didn't have an inner critic, right? When you were trying to make those first few wobbly steps and you plopped down, chances are your parents, grandparents, caregiver, whoever was there at the time probably clapped you and put you up again. So you didn't go, "Oh, I suck at this, I might as well give up now," did you? Of course not, because back then, you knew that the fastest way forward was to actually fail and get up and give it another go. Okay? So here's the thing. I want to explain to you where it came from, because it hasn't been there all along. It's just been there probably since about the age of 2. And I'm just going to share something with you. So let me just share slides and PDFs. Oh, actually, that's not it. Okay, let's just come back and go share screen. Share screen. And I'm going to open this. And I'm going to share this. Hopefully, it is sharing. Let's just see. Let's just see. Where is it? Oh, okay. Play. Boom. Why is it not sharing? Never mind. Let's go to plan B. So the bottom line is that by about the age of 2, until then, you could do no wrong, right? Have you ever heard a parent standing over a little child when they're trying to do those first few wobbly steps and saying, "Stand up and do it again, you silly idiot"? Of course not, because we don't speak to little children that way, do we? However, that all changes around the age of 2. So Jack Gibbs, who is no longer with us, but Jack Gibbs at Iowa University back in the 80s did some research on how many negative and how many positive comments the average preschooler receives in one day. Now, this is before we even get to school, before the age of 5. Have a little bit of a guess how many you think it might be. 75 positive comments, but 460 negative comments. Can you imagine what started to happen in your mind when you started receiving those negative comments? So chances are, if you're over the age of 2, and clearly I am, that inner critic has had lots of practice. The great thing is you can reprogram that sucker, as I mentioned a little while ago. Now, there are 4 ways to reprogram it, and I suggest you try all 4 and see what works for you. For me, it was a combination of 2 things. The first way is to change the tone. Think about how you speak to yourself when you stuff up. If you're a basketball player, if you missed your free throw, if you caused a turnover of the ball, if you're the coach, if you just didn't choose the right play, or if you're a business owner, if you chose a new marketing strategy and it didn't work. Think about how you say it, the tone. Have you got it? Okay, so change the tone. Change the tone to silly. Can you imagine how Donald Duck would say that? So can you imagine how Donald Duck in my instance would say, "You silly idiot"? Exactly, it makes you laugh. So you can change the tone to silly, or you could change the tone to sultry. What about if I say to myself, "You silly idiot"? Do you think it's going to have the same impact? Of course not. It's actually going to feel quite nice. So the first way to change that inner critic into a cheer squad is to change the tone to silly or sultry. The second way is to change the volume. If you're primarily auditory, you'll have a lot of success doing this. So you either hit the mute button or you turn down the volume switch. The third way is to drown it out. Now, I had a lot of success doing this one. Because I'm primarily kinesthetic followed by visual, I need to use my body to learn, right? So to interrupt that sucker, I would go, "Out of here. I don't need you anymore. Out of here. I don't need you anymore." Okay? So let's recap. Change the tone, change the volume, drown it out, or replace the negative with a positive. Okay? You can't just start thinking positive because the negative is already there, right? But you've got to interrupt that sucker within 5 seconds. Okay, never allow a negative thought to reside up here or hurt your heart for more than 5 seconds before you interrupt that sucker and replace it with a positive. Now, in Australia, when we're doing a U-turn, we say we are chucking a Yui. Okay, so if I'm driving and I'm going this direction and I chuck a Yui, I'm going in the opposite direction. So the acronym I've come up with is Y, U, and I. Okay, that's how I'm spelling Yui. Don't know how you really spell it, but that's the acronym just to help you remember what it is. So if you find yourself saying things like, "Oh, I can't do that," the Y stands for yet. I can't do that yet. What does that presuppose? Exactly. If you persist, you'll get there. The U stands for up until now. If you find yourself saying, "Oh, the coach never chooses me for the opening 5, for example," and you change your physiology and you stand tall and proud and you say to yourself, "Up until now," the energy you're emitting is going to exude confidence, okay? And then the I stands for in the past. Stick it in the past where it belongs. How often do we step up? Perhaps you're a basketball player and you turn over the ball and you drag those emotions with you onto the court, which really, really saps your confidence, okay? Go back, cut the pain. Just literally say to yourself, flush it, and get yourself straight back on the court again. So let's recap. The Y stands for yet. I can't do that yet. The U stands for up until now. And the I stands for in the past. Stick it in the past where it belongs. Don't carry the last game that you lost or the last turnover in the game or the last free throw or whatever it might be with you continually on the court. Just let it go like that. Just tell yourself, interrupt the pattern. Remember how many seconds I said? No more than 5 seconds before you interrupt that sucker and replace it with a positive. So that's one of the very simple ways of turning that nasty voice into a cheer squad. So I would love your comments. Comment below. Let me know what you thought of this video. Please share it with anyone you know, because you don't have to live with that thing for the rest of your life. Believe me, I know. And it is such a game changer when you can actually create like a cheer squad. Imagine a cheer squad up here in your head cheering you on in whatever capacity you are, whether you're a coach, whether you're an athlete, whether you're a business owner. It really doesn't matter. We all have that nasty voice until we know better. So I hope you found this useful. Please comment below, connect with me if we haven't already, and I look forward to seeing you next week on The Champion's Mindset. Ciao for now.